Welcome to the 6th episode of the Honeybee Knits podcast. Today is Wednesday, May 31st, 2017. My name is Melissa and I'm coming to you from Springboro, Ohio, which is about 40 minutes north of Cincinnati. You can find me on Instagram at honey_bee_knits and on Ravelry as Melissa1308. And you can also find me on Ravelry in the Honeybee Knits podcast group. So head on over there and join if you haven't already. Thank you very much for returning if you're a returning viewer, and thank you so much for joining me if you're a new viewer. I hope you really enjoy this podcast. I have a lot of stuff to go through today. I don't think this episode is going to be as long as it was last week, but mainly because I don't have as many acquisitions, but we will go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with FOs. I have one FO this week, and that is my May Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. And I mentioned before that I knit a pair of Desert Vista Dyeworks socks every month for her Desert Vista Dyeworks sock club. These are the Tiptoe Through the Tulips with Zombody colorway. And I was able to finish these, I think, a day or two after I podcasted last. 2 days, because I finished them last Friday. So, there they are. And I just used my standard cuff down vanilla sock pattern for myself. I cast on 68 stitches and I did a 22 by 2 twisted rib cuff. And then I knit 60 rows down the leg. I did 2 decrease rows for my heels so that I decreased down to 60 stitches. And then I did a fish lips kiss heel. And I did about, for my foot length, I need about 50 stitches plus the toe, or 50 rows plus the toe. So I did 50 rows across or down. And then I did a standard rounded toe decrease and kitchenered. So yeah, that's the only finished object I have this week. As far as knitting goes, now I did get my sewing machine from my mom a few weeks ago, and I have started sewing. So I have a few bags to show. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have already seen these, but I'm just kind of gonna go through them a little bit quickly. And I am a little embarrassed to show this first one because it was so awful. It was my first time sewing anything at all, and it was my first time reading a sewing pattern, which I don't know if you've ever tried to read a sewing pattern by yourself, but if you're an inexperienced knitter, it's not easy. And the part that I struggled with the most was the pocket. So I'm going to show that first. And I don't know if you can tell, but this is a terrible pocket. I didn't sew it right. First of all, somehow it's supposed to be clipped like this, and for some reason I did it over here, but I did it straight over here. And the pocket itself is misshapen, and I just threw it on there. Whatever, it was my first one. I really love this fabric. And I did a little handle on the side, and inside I did the lining with the divider. And I just found a simplicity pattern at Joann's to base this off of. So this was the very first bag I've ever sewn. My second bag, which houses my Joji Locatelli knit along, I love how this turned out, but it's a ginormous drawstring bag. And of course, more honeybees and polka dots. And on the inside, it's got the yellow and gray polka dots. So my stitching was very off on this one. I've gotten better at the channeling since I've been practicing. So I think what I'm going to do is take this, this seam out and re-sew it. I don't know if you can tell, but like it's very crooked. I did not do a very good job, but I have to say my stitching, like my top stitching here, everything else was a lot easier, and I did a really good job, if I do say so myself, for it being my second project. This is a sweater size drawstring bag. It's very large. I have 5 skeins of Sweet Georgia in here along with my project, and I still have plenty of room to add. I did interfacing on the bottom piece, and then the top piece and the lining I just left the way it was. On my first bag, I interfaced every piece, which turned out not to be necessary because it was too stiff. So yeah, that was my second bag. My third bag, I attempted another pocket, and this one wasn't as bad. So I did it in the contrasting fabric, and I didn't end up following the directions to a T. I followed the directions for this flap, and I did an okay job. You can see the corners are a little better. But then when it got to this right here, my pockets didn't look right, and so I just sewed it on, and I trimmed off the sides, which I know you're not supposed to do, so you can actually see the raw edges on here. And I did use some hardware for the hook. Now, for some reason, I wasn't paying attention when I cut out the straps, the fabric for the straps, and I did end up using the piece that has the print on it, but this is just for me, so it doesn't bother me. And again, I did a better job with my zipper this time, and the inside does have a divider, and I did interface the divider. But yeah, so I'm happy with that. It turned out a lot better. Sorry if I'm looking over here. I'm used to the camera being over on this side, and it's actually on the right side today, so I keep forgetting to look at the right side. But anyway, so my fourth bag is another drawstring bag out of the same ladybug fabric and the polka dots that I had on the other one with the lining, and this houses my Cozy Memories blanket. This has my blanket in it and minis, and it still has room, so if that tells you how ginormous this bag is. It's huge, but I absolutely love it. Okay, and then my last 2 bags I sewed yesterday, and I'm really, really proud of them because I feel like I did a really great job on them compared to the other ones. So this one I chose not to do the pocket on. Pocket just seemed unnecessary. And again, I did a strap, and this time it does need a little pressed and ironed, but this time the strap turned out really well. I'm really happy with that. And then on the inside, I did not do a divider, but I like dividers sometimes, but they're not always necessary. So I'm very, very happy with this as just a plain wedge bag. I think I could fit about 3 skeins in here. That's not true. I know I could fit the 5. I did have my project in here for my starting point knit along before I made the drawstring, and it fit. It was just a little too tight. So I know that you can fit a lot of yarn in here. I did cut the fabric crooked, so this is not my stitching crooked. My stitching was actually pretty straight on this one. The one thing I would say is that my zipper end, I think I needed to flip when I started it, because I would rather have, when it's closed, the zipper end be, the zipper pull be on this side. So that when I'm holding it, I can just, you know, zip it a little bit and have the yarn coming up here. So on my next one, I will make sure to put the zipper on the correct way. And then my last one has my crochet blanket in here, which isn't much of a blanket because I just restarted it last night. If you'll recall, last week I had started it and I ended up ripping it out. So anyway, I got a lot better on the channeling. You do see that there's still like a little curve right here, but I did a lot better on this than the first one and the first 2. But yeah, so it's got the pink stripes. So again, these are huge drawstring bags, and I'm really happy with them. So yeah, those are the bags I sewed this week. And I have to say, my mom was right. She said, once you start, you'll get addicted, and I sure did. So, so that's all the FOs I have this week for knitting and sewing. I did not spin it all this week again. I really hope to get back into my spinning because and I'm not quite sure why I have not been spinning. I guess I've just been so involved in knitting and everything else that I just haven't had time. So, okay, so I have 2 whips to show this week. My first one is my Locatelli starting point mystery knit along. So if you're knitting that and you don't want to see how clue 3 turns out, or clue 2 or 1, go ahead and turn away. I am about a little over halfway finished with clue 3. I've got the first piece finished with clue 3. So clue 3 started here and went to here. So I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I'll have to see if I can get a picture of the whole thing because this is rather large, but yeah, I'm so happy with how this is turning out. It's just beautiful, and I can't wait to see what it looks like finished. And then this is my second piece. I was hoping to have it done before the podcast, but with the sewing and everything, I just didn't get to it. So I'm about about 1/3 of the way finished with the second clue. So you started here. So I've got 2 more sections to do. And then this will be ready for clue 4, which comes out on Friday. And I'll talk more about our Locatelli knit along in a few minutes. All the information for that in the Ravelry group. So then my next whip is my crochet blanket. And I didn't get very far on this because I did just restart it last night. But if you'll recall, I showed this last week and I got a fair bit done on it. But it was bowing in the middle because my chain was too tight. So I met up with some friends last night and worked on it a little bit. And I am halfway through a row, so I apologize for that. But as you can see, my tension still is evening out. I do have some lumps and bumps, but overall the chain is a lot stretchier than the first time I cast on. So I think it'll be, if the tension does change on it, I think it'll be just fine. So I was trying to untangle it so I can show you, but alright, so, and also I believe I made this a little bit bigger than my last one, which is nice because I like big cozy blankets. See, again, there's the little lumpy bumpy section, but I'm getting better, and because my chain is so loose, I think that I won't have any issues. So yeah, don't have much done on that. Working through my ginormous magic cake I showed previously on the podcast. And yeah, that's it on that. Okay, so I'm going to move into acquisitions now. This week I only have 2 acquisitions. I have ordered more, but they just have not come in the mail. But I have been trying to slow down on my purchasing, especially since my last couple podcasts, I had a lot of acquisitions to show. And I am running out of room. I definitely need to rein it in. With the exception of Simply Sock Yarn coming up in 2 weeks, a week and a half. I will not be purchasing any yarn unless it's a Lolodidit yarn for her Hippo colorways or a special edition yarn. I really am starting to feel guilty with my purchases, mainly because I don't have enough time to knit all of the yarns I do have. And since I'm running out of room, it's just becoming a little bit ridiculous and a little bit gluttonous for me to continue to purchase. And same with project bags. If you can see, I have a whole stack of project bags right here. And some of those I've never used. So I have gone through them and picked out a few that I no longer was attached to, and I gave them away to some friends. And I'm going to be doing round 2 coming up soon. And a few of those bags I will probably give away for giveaways for the podcast. So, with that being said, I still have a lot of purchases coming in the mail. Still have not received my Hue Logo So Faded sweater kit. I have a few things that I purchased on Etsy, and I have a purchase that I made with Coloring Book Yarns about a month ago, and they're dyed to order. So she just messaged me last night and said that they're ready to ship, so I should be getting those soon. Other than that, I have a few clubs coming. I have the Yarn Enabler Club coming, and I have both the Sangria and White Wine box coming because I couldn't decide. I have a Vivid Yarn Club coming, and I also have a Cozy Knitter Yarn Club coming. So those should be coming probably at the beginning of probably between now and the 15th. So yeah, I will have stuff to show, but I'm just going to try to work through what I have. So moving into acquisitions, I will show my Hippo for Dad colorway. And there's purple, there's a little bit of purple and blue, greens, browns. This is a very dad colorway. It's a very manly. And typically I would knit this colorway for my dad, but I want a collection of socks in all the Hippo colorways, so I will be knitting these for myself. If I have enough left over, I might make them some shorties. My favorite color in this one is this blue. And this is on her plush sock base, which is 75% superwash merino wool, 15% nylon, and 10% tencel. And I switched to her plush sock base because she got rid of her sparkle base, which I was trying to get all of the Hippo colorways in the same base. But the sparkle base just wasn't sparkly enough. So they're looking for a new sparkle base. So until then, I got the tencel, which in certain lights you can kind of see a little tiny glimmers of sparkle, which is good enough for me. So it's my Hippo for Dad. And then my next purchase, I was enabled by the Knit for Brains podcast, which I'll talk a little bit more about them at the end of the episode. But they have been knitting the Changing Staircases shawl, which is one of the prettiest one skein shawls I've ever seen. It's the perfect shawl for a variegated colorway. But anyway, so they purchase a lot from Yarn Cafe Creations and Dragon Hoard Yarn, which I have not checked out their podcast, but it is on my list to begin. I do follow them on Instagram, and I see the beautiful things that they show, so I'm really excited to start their podcast. So I did purchase a skein from both Dragon Hoard Yarn, which is Tristan, and there's her information. I purchased from her on Etsy, and also Yarn Cafe Creations, which I believe is her mother. The Yarn Cafe Creations has not, was shipped, but I haven't received it yet. But the Dragon Hoard yarn I got in a couple of days, which is amazing considering it was a holiday weekend. But I purchased this. And you may have seen this colorway before. I've been eyeing it in her shop for quite a while. But this is her Wonderland colorway on her fairy base, which is fingering weight sparkle, 462 yards per 100 grams, 70% merino wool, 25% nylon, and 5% stellina. And I was blown away by the sparkle in this yarn and how soft and squishy it was. Laura and Alicia were not lying when they talk about the sparkle and the squishiness of her yarns. So these colors are amazing. They're very vibrant, but they're on like a pastel-y base color, which is really cool. So I love the mixture of the light pastels with the bright pops of color. This will most likely be a Changing Staircases shawl. Last week I showed a skein of yarn by Twist Yarn Company, I believe, or Fiber Company, in the Soul Surfer colorway, and it was like a neon-y colorway with black speckles in it. And I mentioned that me and two other girls in the group purchased the same colorway, and we wanted to do a knit along. And I think that we have decided to do the Changing Staircases shawl. We have looked at several different patterns, and so far I think for that yarn, that's the one that is going to look the best. So I'm really excited to start that with them. So yeah, that's it for acquisitions. And I have a lot more information to share with you guys, and I have a couple of giveaways, so make sure you stay tuned. Right now we're going to go into Ravelry group news. So just a couple of reminders. There is a Joji Locatelli knit along that is going on in the group right now, and I have set a date for that to end, and I've decided to end it June 30th. So I will be drawing prizes for that July 5th. And the prize for that will be, I don't know if you can see it sticking out here, but I showed it a few podcasts ago. It's a skein of mustache yarns and a bar of Tough Woolen's hand lotion. And I think I'm going to throw in a project bag with that one. So that will be the first prize. The second prize, I will be sending one of these skein coats and the stitch markers I previously showed from Knitty by Nature. And the third prize, I haven't decided yet, but most likely it will be a pattern prize. So go ahead and make sure that you are entering in your finished objects and working on those Joji Locatelli patterns. It can be any pattern. It doesn't have to be the Starting Point Mystery Knit Along. And it can be any size. So it can be socks. It could be, I know somebody's working on some mitts or fingerless mitts. Pretty much anything. It doesn't matter. So I'm really excited to see what you guys are working on. And there is also a Joji Locatelli knit along whips thread. So if you want to chatter about what you're making, show us your progress, and or if you need pattern help, that's the thread to do it in. The next thread is the year-long sock knit along. And when I set this up, I set it up in the middle of the month, so I know it's a little bit confusing, but I'm going to go ahead and explain the information now. So for the month of May, any socks knit from May 1st to June 15th can be entered to win. I will draw prizes for the May thread on June 21st. And for May only, whips are allowed. So if you had a pair of socks started before May 1st, you can go ahead and enter those if you finish them before June 15th. So that's for May. For June and any of the other months, so for example, the June sock knit along will go from June 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2017. And I will draw for prizes on the following podcast. And for that one, no whips are allowed. So your socks will need to be started between June 1st and June 30th and finished before June 30th to be entered to win for that one. So if that's confusing, I'm sorry. If you have any questions, feel free to go out into the questions thread on Ravelry and let me know, and I will answer those for you. So the price for that, I also showed on a previous podcast, is a project bag. The first prize for that is a project bag and a progress keeper from Fate's Thread that she generously donated to the podcast. Make sure to get your FOs in there. And I will be adding a skein of Opal or West Yorkshire spinner's yarn to that. So I know not everybody is a fan of the yarn, so if you don't enjoy working with that yarn, feel free to gift it or sell it or whatever you want to do. I just have a bunch of it that I want to give away to homes that would appreciate it more. So the next thread that we have going is the chatter and questions thread, which I set up before the last podcast. And this is just the thread where you can go and just have general chat about the podcast, and any questions that you might have for me, you can put in there and I will answer them on the following podcast. Let's see what else. And then we also have the plug your business or podcast thread. And I wanted to mention that we've had a lot of great designers and artisans and podcasters go in there and put their information in there. So make sure that you check out that thread. I have looked through everybody's posts and everybody's Etsy shops, and there are some amazing products in there. So if you're looking for some great project bags, stitch markers, soaps, yarns, go out there and check it out, as well as knitwear designs. So we do have a couple of coupon codes that I have neglected to mention on the previous podcast, and I do want to get better about that because these designers have been so generous in putting these coupon codes in the thread, so I want to make sure to get the word out to you guys. So the first coupon code that we have is from Faith's Thread, and she's the one that donated a few project bags to the podcast. And her coupon code actually goes through the end of the year. So you have all year you can use that. And that coupon code is FT First Year 10 for 10% off your purchase of $20 or more. And I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you can use this multiple times throughout the year. She's a newer shop, and she has beautiful project bags and stitch markers, so I really would encourage you to go out there and check that out. The next coupon codes that we have is from Baba Yaya, and she has a couple of designs. So her designs, if you go out and check them on Ravelry, they're very beautiful designs that I think most people would sell for $7. And she's got them priced ridiculously low, like $2 or $3. But on top of that, she's given us some coupon codes. So she designed the fresh pineapple socks, and she has a coupon code to get that pattern for $1, which is ridiculous. It's a beautiful pattern. So make sure that you go out and check it out. And the coupon code for that is BBYY, and that is good through June 15th. As the Autumn Air Hand Warmers pattern. And the coupon code for that is MAYFREE, MAYFREE, and that gets you the pattern for free. So that is also good through June 15th. So if you're looking for a hand warmers pattern that maybe as a Christmas gift or something for the fall that you need, make sure to go out there and check those out and use the coupon code to get them for free. I mean, why wouldn't you? That's an amazing deal. So thank you so much, Baba Yaya. So then the next coupon code we have is Handmade by Zan, and she also has a shop, and she gave us the coupon code Thank You 10, and you can save 10% on your next order. And her information is all of these designers and Etsy stores are linked in that thread. So if you need links to something I'm talking about on the podcast, make sure you check that out, and I'll also put the information down in the show notes. So the next and the last coupon code that we have is by Kat G Designs, and she designed the Illuria cowl, and she is giving us 25% off from now until June 13th with the code NEW25, so NEW25. So make sure you go out and check that out, and that cowl is a beautiful pattern as well. So with all of that being said, I know I mentioned last week that I'm going to do a couple of random giveaways for the different threads that we have open. So I have a couple of pattern giveaways to announce. I can't thank you guys enough for all of your love and support for this podcast. I've enjoyed meeting so many different people from all around the world, and I'm really excited to just give back in any way that I can. And one of those ways is to gift patterns randomly for your participation in the threads. And for this week, I decided to use the patterns that people had mentioned in the Plug Your Business or podcast thread. So if you are a designer, make sure you go out there and plug your designs, because I will just go through and pick a few of your designs to give away. So yeah, or any business, podcast, whatever, make sure that you're going out there and putting your information in there. So the first giveaway that I have, and I'm really excited about who won this one, because I talk to her on Instagram all the time, and she is an absolute sweetheart. So the first pattern that I'm giving away is the Avenue of Pines hat by Shelby Hamden, and I pulled the winner from the Hohi Locatelli Whips thread, and that winner is number 17, which is Felipe from Portugal, and she is working on the Starting Point Mystery Knit Along as well, and her colors are beautiful, so you should go out there and check it out. So congratulations, Felipe. The next winner that I have is the Next Steps shawl by Sarah Rose, and she's from the UK. And I pulled the winner for this one from the introductions thread, and the winner of that is number 36, which is Ida from Sweden. Congratulations, Ida. The next pattern is the pattern I was just talking about, the Fresh Pineapple Socks by Baba Yaya, and I pulled that from the Show Us Your Whips thread, and that winner is number 21, which is Sarah Jane from the Netherlands. So congratulations, Sarah Jane. I will get that out to you. And then the last pattern I pulled for was a newer entry, and this is the Aloria Cow by Kate G Designs, and I pulled from the general podcast chat for this one. And the first number that I pulled was number 4, which is my good friend Elizabeth from the Miami Valley Knitting Guild. So hi, Elizabeth. And she has told me multiple times that I am not allowed to pull her name for giveaways, because she's known me since I was 7, and she's a very close friend. But I figured this is a pattern giveaway, so I'm just going to gift her the pattern anyway. So congratulations, Elizabeth, you're getting the pattern. But since I did pull her name, I'm going to go ahead and pull a second name. And for the second one, I pulled number 5, which is Beth from Louisiana. So hi, Beth. I know that we've talked before through Ravelry, and I love your profile picture of the Mardi Gras get up. One of my dream trips is to go to New Orleans. I am a Saints fan, so maybe sometime when I'm down there, we can meet up for knitting and coffee. So congratulations to all the winners. You do not need to contact me. I will send those patterns out to you while I'm uploading the podcast. So if you go onto Ravelry before this podcast uploads, you most likely already know that you've won. And if you haven't been to Ravelry, make sure that you go out there and get your pattern. And congratulations to all the winners. That leads us to Ravelry questions. And I had 2 new questions in the thread this week. Make sure to go out there and get your questions submitted if you just want to know about a particular yarn or pattern I've shown, or there's something that you want me to add to the podcast, or anything like that. Make sure you go out there and comment, and I'll make sure to address those on the next podcast. So for this week, the first question came from Linsome982, and she is from Indiana, and she said, "Hi Melissa, I'm thoroughly enjoying your podcast. Random question, where did you get the white bookcases shelving that you have hanging on the wall behind you? Thanks." So this one right here, I know it's out of frame, but you could see it on my previous podcast. I actually designed with my stepdad, which we got the idea, I believe, on Pinterest, and he made it for me, and my husband and I sanded it, painted it, and we put hooks in it and hung it up on the wall. I planned that for about a year, so I was so excited to have it finally finished and hung up, which I just got it hung up, I believe, in February or March. So it hasn't been up on the wall very long, but yeah, I haven't seen any like that in any of the hardware stores we go to, like Lowe's or Home Depot. But I'm really happy to have it. So thank you for asking. And then this one over here I just got from Home Depot. It's just your standard square, I believe it's like a Martha Stewart shelf or something like that. And I knew that I had a problem when I filled this one up, because all of this yarn used to be in this. And I filled this up, and now this is filled back up, which is a problem. That's why I said I need to cut back on the spending of the yarn. So thank you for your question. So the next question is from Shy Moment, and she's from Ohio. And she says, love your yarn holder on the wall behind you. Please straighten said wall unit. Really drives my eyes crazy because it is not level. You have some lovely yarns. I see you buy fiber. Do you use a spinning wheel or spindle to spin? So thank you so much for your questions. I have mentioned this on a previous podcast that the shelving unit itself is level. It's my camera setup that's not level. I had it setting up on like an old diaper. I use my husband's iPad to record, and I had it set up on like an old diaper box. And I think the table that I have it on is crooked, and that's why the iPad is crooked, because I've tried lifting up the legs. I've tried lifting up one side of the box. Today I have it on a popcorn tin that I got from work. One of our vendors sent us some popcorn, and I cleaned it out and I use it for yarn storage. So I have it sitting up on that, and it's a little bit better, but I think it's only better because I flipped the iPad, which is why the camera's on the right instead of the left. I did purchase on Amazon a tripod for the iPad, so hopefully that will be here by the next podcast, or if not, the podcast after that. I am working on that because I know, and it bothers me too when I watch the videos back. By the time you guys see these videos, I've normally watched them about 3 times, 2 times through editing and 1 time while it's uploading. So I see it too, and it drives me nuts. And that's one of the reasons why my husband can't watch this podcast, other than the amount of yarn that I buy. But because he is OCD, and I know he would get so mad at me for putting up a video that has a crooked shelf. So please bear with me. I'm trying to get it fixed. And to answer your other questions, you said you have some lovely yarns. I see you buy fiber. Do you use a spinning wheel or a spindle to spin? When I first started spinning, I did use a spindle, but it got really slow, and my dad purchased me a antique spinning wheel as a surprise gift, a random gift. And my stepdad is an engineer, and I had some problems with the yarn pulling onto the bobbin, and he helped me tweak it a little bit, and it would work for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then it would stop again. We oiled it, we replaced some of the pieces on it. The problem ended up being that the wood was warped on the mother of all, so the tension wasn't correct. So needless to say that spinning wheel is no longer usable, but it is a beautiful spinning wheel, so I just keep it around for a display piece. This past January, my husband purchased me a National Custom Spinworks spinning wheel, which at some point I will get a video of and put it up into the podcast. But if you haven't seen them, they are all aluminum wheels. And they are quite heavy, so I do only spin at home. I'm not able to go to any of the spinning groups, mainly because I'm afraid of dropping it and scratching it or breaking something. But it is a production wheel, so they have ginormous bobbins, which I've shown on the podcast previously. But I do use that to spin my yarns. But yeah, so thank you very much for the questions. So that's all I have for the knitting content for the most part. I'm going to go into weekend review, which does have some podcast chatter. So some podcasts I've been watching. So if you're interested in hearing about that, stick around. And if not, thank you guys so much for joining me and have a great week. I'll see you next week. So my weekend review, I've had a really busy week. Mainly because I learned how to sew and I spent a lot of time sewing and I love it and I'm getting a lot better. So I'm going to keep going with it. So that was what a lot of my crafting time was spent doing this week. I have had a lot of time off work this week. I was off. I worked Friday. They let us off a couple hours early due to the holiday. And then I've been off Saturday, Sunday, and Monday for Memorial Day. And then I took Tuesday and Wednesday off. So I had yesterday off and today's my last day and I go back tomorrow. So I've had a lot of free time to get some stuff done around the house, to do some crafting. But mainly I've been spending a lot of time with my friends and family this week. I don't have any new updates about Root Beer, my dog. In case you didn't know, she has cancer. And she got her medicine and the medicine seems to be helping. She's had a few bad days, but her good days are more than her bad days. So that's good. Yesterday she was acting like a puppy. So, I love to see her like that because I know that she's not in pain and I know that she's comfortable. So yeah, we just continue to monitor her progress and she's getting fattened up. She's eating a ton of food. Peanut butter hot dogs are her main diet right now. So, and as a result, my other dog, Izzy, is also getting fat. So we're going to have to put her on a diet to keep her healthy. As far as my health issues go, I know I mentioned that I had to have my gallbladder. I have to have my gallbladder out. And I didn't know when that surgery would be scheduled for. I still don't know. I did get a call from the surgeon's office, and the soonest he was available to do a consultation was June 12th. So I will be going to see him on June 12th, and hopefully we'll get it set up then. It is stressful. I've never had to deal with surgery as an adult, and going through the healthcare system, even with insurance, is interesting, and I'm not going to get on a soapbox rant, but I will say this. I have a medication that was prescribed by my doctor to help with my indigestion issues as a result of my gallbladder issues. And originally I was on Prilosec. And it helped for a while, but then it stopped helping and I had a few gallbladder attacks, which I wasn't able to eat for 3 days and I was really sick. So she prescribed me a different medicine that was basically like Prilosec, but much, much stronger. She gave me 3 sample bottles, so 15 days. And it has been helping so much. I have not been having any issues. That, along with the diet changes that I've made and the exercise changes that I've made, I have been feeling great ever since then. Haven't had any problems. Well, I ran out of the 15-day supply. So I called my pharmacy to get the prescription filled, and they told me that it wasn't covered by my insurance, denied the prescription. So I looked it up on my insurance's website, and they said that they review all medications, and that if they determine that a medication is medically unnecessary, then they will deny coverage of the medication. I have a huge problem with this. My doctor went to school for this. My pharmacist went to school for this. The insurance company did not. They are not doctors. They don't know my medical history as well as my doctor does. They don't know what kind of medication that I need. So the fact that they're denying me medication that I need until I can get in to get my gallbladder taken out is ridiculous in my opinion. It's at this point, it's like, why do you even have insurance? So I asked how much the medication was without it, and for 30 days it was like $350, which I'm not going to pay that. So I just said, give me my Prilosec, which is $7, and hopefully that will get me through. And I will say that already the indigestion problems have already begun. So I just think it's ridiculous that I can't have a medication that helps me because of my insurance. So I plan on calling my doctor today because it did say that you can appeal the denial. But it's just ridiculous that somebody with a medical problem has to go through this. And if it was a more major problem, it just makes me mad for those people that have cancer, that have other medical issues where they have to have these medications right away, that they have to go through the additional stress of trying to get insurance to cover it. I know I said I wasn't going to get on a soapbox, but I did, and there's that. So if you happen to work for the insurance industry, maybe there's something I'm missing, feel free to let me know, because I'm really frustrated at this point. I think it's so stupid that I can't get a medication that I need, even though my doctor says that I can have it, that I need it, and it's not, the side effects are no different than the side effects of my Prilosec. So there's that. I will stop talking about that now. But again, I spent a lot of time, back to week in review, I spent a lot of time with my family and friends. And I also spent some time with Laura and Alicia of the Knit for Brains podcast. So if you guys are watching, hi! I want to tell you guys that I binge watched all your episodes twice over this past week. I watched them the first time through while I was knitting and the second time through while I was sewing. I'm obsessed with you guys. I'm totally fangirling with you guys right now. Baba Yaya is a friend of you guys. I believe her name is Wendy. And I mentioned to her that I'm going to be in Fort Wayne, Indiana, in 2 weeks, a week and a half. And she said that you guys had been wanting to visit, and I know it's really short notice, but if you guys want to meet up, let me know, because I'll be there. And if not, I will figure out another time to meet up with you guys, because I love looking at your projects. I'm also a Hufflepuff, I think I mentioned previously. I relate a lot to Alicia, and I love your sewing, I love your knitting, I love your yarn acquisitions, and I overall love the just back and forth mother-daughter banter that you guys have. Yeah, so there's that. That's the podcast I've been mostly watching this week. I did watch my normal ones, like I watched Knitting Expat, I watched Yarn Hoarder, I watched the Dye Another Day podcast, which is the Crafty Knitter and the Yarn Enabler. And what else? I think that's it. That's all I watched. I've been watching, with my husband and I have been watching 24. We've never watched the full series before, and we started it about a year ago. And we kind of stopped watching it, but we finished season 4 this week and started season 5. House of Cards just came out. We put on the first 2 episodes last night. My husband watched the first 2 episodes. I fell asleep halfway through the first episode, so I'm going to go back and rewatch those today. I plan on going and picking up some more fabrics today to do some more sewing. Hopefully my friends and I decide if we're for sure going to cast on the Changing Staircases shawl, which, again, I was enabled by the Knit for Brains podcast. And if we are, I hope to start that. And again, I hope to get some spinning done this week. I think I'm going to try to set aside at least an hour or 2 to spin, because it's just ridiculous. My husband bought me this beautiful, nice wheel as a Christmas anniversary birthday gift, and I used it like crazy the first couple months, and I haven't used it in about a month and a half to 2 months. So I really want to get spinning on that. And I have all this beautiful fiber that needs to be spun up. So there's that. Okay, I am starting to get rambly, so I am going to get off here, and I'm going to edit the podcast and upload it and respond to some comments on YouTube and Ravelry, and send out those pattern prizes. So, all right, well, have a great week, guys. I look forward to chatting with you next week. Bye.